Hello, hope you're doing well. I just wanted to come on and share some of my thoughts. I've been saying this thing about Francis Ngannou and UFC and some of the fighters and just regular fans also, just like me, people like me, sharing their thoughts. And there was something which I thought was missing from the conversation, so I thought maybe I should share my 2 cents, even though nobody gives a fuck. So, from what I'm understanding is UFC doesn't like Francis Ngannou. They have made it like clear. And the thing, what was bothering me is that Dana White tried to manipulate the narrative and came out with the question and answer, but then gave a really shitty answer, which nobody believes him. And then the other thing, Sean O'Malley, he came on and he said it on his podcast that he should not be fighting with UFC, and Francis should not be asking for more money, or along the lines he said that he should not be on the opposite side. He should not take like an opposite stance to Dana White, and that he is the boss and he gives the money and everything. And what I think UFC and people like Sean O'Malley or other people don't realize that in reality, not in reality, like the basic uh, formulation of Francis Ngannou is not that he is a fighter. He is a fighter by profession, but his reality in US is that he is an immigrant there. He's not from US. He was born in Cameroon. He was raised in Cameroon, and he built all those dreams of having all this money and becoming a fighter and achieving whatever he wanted to achieve was in Cameroon. But he realized that he cannot achieve those dreams in Cameroon because there are not enough resources for him there to work on those dreams, to move forward. So he decided that he wants to get out of Cameroon and he wants to go to US, and he started his journey, went into different countries, and then he was sent back to Sahara Desert to like die, and then he got out again, and then he was sent back again. So after multiple times trying, and after months, if not like around 2 years of like extreme struggle, living in the woods, living in the forest with no money, with no protection and no resources at all, and just living like a homeless person. And he finally was able to get to Morocco, and from Morocco he was able to get to France, and he also lived there like a homeless person. But eventually he found MMA factory. He found his coach at that time, Fernando Lopez, and Fernand gave him the sport and the training and the place to train. And then he got out of the that gym, and their relationship went sour, and he got settled into the in US, and he carried on his UFC career, which Fernand helped him to get into. So I think the story of like to understand, like you have to go back to understand the mindset of Francis Ngannou. You have to go back, look from the start. He got out of the Cameroon not to become a UFC fighter. He got out of the Cameroon to become a boxer. He wanted to be a boxer. He did not even know that UFC or mixed martial art existed. But somehow, when he got there, he realized that this is a completely different society as compared to Cameroon or Africa. Like, I'm from Asia, so in Asia and most of in African countries, we have like a collectivistic society, people and families and brothers and sisters and their children. Most of the time, they live in like a big house. Everybody lives together. So you have this like a huge family sport, but at the same time you don't have that much of your own freedom. So there are always pros and cons to every society. But when he got to France, he realized that this is a very, very individualistic society, and you have to be on your own, and you have to work on your own, and you have to now just figure it out. And he saw the only solution was to get into the fighting due to his just physical God given gifts he has. And he just worked hard on it, and he realized, okay, there is enough money to be made, and I don't have to be homeless, and I can start working towards my goal. And I am, if not boxing, but boxing is part of MMA, so I'm at least starting to learn. I'm at least on my path. And people don't realize that some people would say, why would he work in MMA? Why would he not do boxing then? He had the choice to make. The thing you have to realize is at that time, boxing is a lot more difficult to learn when you haven't done any boxing in your whole life. MMA is much easier to learn. You can mix up things, you can have some jiu-jitsu, you can have some grappling skill, can have some MMA boxing skills. And he was earning like 2,000 euros, 5,000 euros, 1,000 euros. And when you're homeless, that's a lot of money. When you never even had that much money in your whole life, and then you had that money, that's a lot of money. It makes sense to do MMA. But what I think his coach didn't realize, maybe they realized, but they maybe not were not that much of acceptive to that fact that he wanted to move to US. That at that time when he got to Stipe Miocic fight, when he was an established MMA fighter, established UFC fighter, he started to think, that's only me speculating as a person who is an immigrant in a Western country, and as a person who has his own dreams and stuff and wants to achieve a lot of things. So he realized that if I want to be a boxer, I cannot be a boxer. I cannot train and learn boxing, everything, and improve myself when I'm living in France. And France and Europe and US, there is a lot of difference when it comes to society and freedom and money and culture and everything. Especially the boxing culture. It's just a huge difference. And he was like, okay, I'll go to US, I'll train there, I will have much more resources to learn regarding the boxing. I don't have to travel back and forth and be like just in this like battle in my mind. Should I stay with Fran Lopez or should I stay with Eric Nixick? And when he moved to US, not even moved, when he started training in US, he was like approached with love by Eric Nixick, and it shows in their relationship right now. So he was like, okay, if I stay here, I can improve my wrestling skills, I can improve my jiu-jitsu skills, I can improve my boxing skills, and he found a friend in Kamaru Usman there. So he got a lot of support there, and I think even though they know right now, I think at that time, back in his mind, his only goal was to eventually get into the boxing, eventually somehow become a good enough mixed martial artist that his like people are open to him boxing Tyson Fury, who is like eventually the best boxer of our time. So now it comes to this fight, like a Stipe Miocic second fight, and he wants to get more money and he wants to box, but UFC does not allow him. And this is him, and he said it in a lot of interviews that these things he was trying to get out of this, like a UFC contract or modify it to allow him to box, to allow him to get more money, but UFC was not open to it. And it became severe over time. It became extremely severe with this fight, as we know now. But what UFC and Dana White and Sean O'Malley and a lot of other people don't realize is that he has become a complete mixed martial artist now. in this fight against UFC interim heavyweight champion Cyril Gane, he showed that he has improved tremendously when it comes to grappling skill. He has improved tremendously when it comes to MMA wrestling. He has improved tremendously when it comes to going like a 5 round fight. And he now wants to, he's getting old. A fighter's like a athletic career is not that long, and he's getting old, even though it does not matter for that sort of like a god gifted like an athlete. But he has made his money. He knows, like, this is like, when he was living in Cameroon, he could maybe never imagine the amount of money he has made. He had never imagined that he would become a UFC fighter and everything. It's like okay, to to go back a little bit, when like a normal immigrant, not like a Francis Ngannou kind of immigrant, but like a normal immigrant comes and he has dreams and stuff. But when you come into a Western country, when you come into like a completely different country, financially rich country, you have your dreams, but then you realize, okay, now I have to fend for myself. Now I don't have that family and friend support which I had in my home country. And you're like, okay, I will spend these 2, 3, 4, 5 years, like mm, just 5 years to build my like a financial basis, and I will try to in the background work on my dreams, work towards my passions, improve my skills regarding that, and then eventually I'll do what I always wanted to do. Because it's just not enough for an immigrant when you leave your family, when you leave your home country, and you don't even get to like try, like at least try for your dream. Like, he's not saying that he's going to win against Tyson Fury, and he has every right to say that because he is a heavyweight champion in mixed martial arts. But what he is saying, that I should have at least a freedom, a freedom to try this. Dana White and UFC are working like any other corporation, any other company. Like, your boss is so shitty that he would put such stuff in your contract, and when you have performed very well and when you have had a good relationship, and then you now expect, okay, now I have made them so much profit, I have made them so much money, and I have been a good partner. Now I'll go to my HR. Now I'll go to my company's like my manager, and ask them, okay, this is the thing I've been wanting to do for like many years, and I think I have like provided uh, enough of my skills and enough of my abilities through the company. I would be much more happier doing this job and doing this partnership with you if you could at least allow me to work on the side for this thing, or if you could give me more money, or if you could just like modify the contract. But every corporate is shitty and they don't give a fuck about you. And this is the same attitude which UFC is showing towards Francis. This is the same attitude which Dana White is showing towards Francis and some of the fighters, like Sean O'Malley. But what they don't realize is, as a common person, just like many of us are, we don't like this either at all. But Francis doesn't like this either. But he has much more leverage right now. And at this point, he wants to just get out of this contract. He wants to get out of this contract and have a better contract. He wants to stay with UFC. He has said it multiple times that he just wants to have better contract and just much more ability to work on his side passion. Not like side passion, like a main passion, which is boxing. And UFC is not happy with that, because they know if they allow him, then they have to allow every other credible person or even every other fighter. At one point, they said this is an opportunity, and this is like like they are like a contractor, they are not employees, but then they demand kind of the responsibilities you would demand from an employee. They don't like respect the fighter at that end. So I think as fans of mixed martial arts, as a fan of UFC, we have to realize that we have to understand the immigrant mentality Francis Ngannou has, the immigrant mentality. A lot of people who move out of their home countries, most of the time extremely poor financial like countries to rich countries, that all of us, including Francis Ngannou, have this dream which we want to achieve, but at the same time, we are open to this subjugation, to this compromise of working in this circle, in this culture, in this financial pool that is already established. And we also want to, he also wants to have his own freedom. And they are now respecting that. You know, one of the things which also doesn't get like understood, doesn't get realized that much is when you are coming from that country, like most of the time when people come from like immigrate from like really poor countries, or like really uh, like uh, like Asian and African countries, because of the collectivistic society, you don't have that much of freedom. Like your family or elders in your family or society, like, or your neighborhood, it like that puts you in the direction, okay, this is how you have to behave, this is how you have to work, you have to, because your parents and your family, they're providing you the rules, so they have a lot of say in how you live your life. And one of the things which motivates people to move out of this country, other than the financial resources you have, is the freedom they would enjoy. Like I have a lot of friends, even including myself, and I know shitload of people here who moved out because, just because of the sole reason, they did not have enough freedom in their life. They did not have even enough say of their life choices, of the life decisions they wanted to make. And UFC and Dana White, maybe they don't realize that it's just not about money. Of course, money is part of it, but he feels like he's being put back into the same situation he was in when he was in Cameroon, where the society, the neighborhood, maybe his family, it's just my words, not his words, were dictating the kind of life decision he should make, the kind of life direction he should take. And that's extremely frustrating for like a person who leaves his country, who leaves his home, even though he loves them, just because he wants to have enough freedom to make his own life choices and deal with the consequences, whatever the consequences might occur. Like even in the boxing, like it's not like guaranteed that he will go and knock out Francis Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder or Andy Ruiz or any other heavyweight fight he has. And it's most likely that he might lose those fights because he does not have a like a clear-cut boxing experience, and those guys are so much far ahead than him. But maybe he recovers from his injury, maybe he gets into the boxing and he just trains boxing full time. The fight is set up and he's just training boxing, and he's not focusing like putting like the work he like extra time he needed to put on MMA, and he's just focused on that fight. And maybe UFC is like a partner in that situation, just like they were when it came to Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather. And in that situation, he would have it much more easier because his home organization is supporting him in that decision. And they're not supporting him for free. They're, of course, going to take money, and he's open to that too. So, what they have to understand is they have to give him the freedom to make his own life decision, even if they cost him his fighting career in MMA or boxing, even if they cost him financial resources. You cannot force an adult to make decisions just because of these stupid contracts. Like one of the frustrating thing in Western societies is that the way they manipulate you, the way these shitty lawyers would manipulate you. Okay, it's kind of understandable because that's just their business module and that's just the situation is, and that's how they just want to make the deals. But when you come from like a Asian countries or African countries, or you're immigrant here, you don't know how the law works in this country. You're not well versed in the laws. You don't know how this situation works, and at that time you're just trying to get in, you're just trying to get settled, you're just trying to put your feet in the organization, you're just trying to make a whole, and you're hoping like, okay, you would be good enough an employee, a good enough of a partner, and this other person would respect you. But then it comes the reality, and he has realized that, and many of other immigrants realize that eventually these people are piece of shits and they only care about their own jobs, and that's not a bad thing. But there is no friend in this situation. Everybody is just working towards their own benefits. And now he has realized that, and he wants to work towards his own benefit, and he wants to stay in the partnership, but he doesn't want to stay if they don't let him work towards his own goals. So I would humbly request to Dana White, and I would humbly request to MMA fans. Most of the fans are on the side of UFC, on Francis Ngannou. Most of the fans now, after his very, very revealing interview with Ariel Helwani, have realized the situation, have realized the problems UFC fighters have to face every time they step in the cage, every time they offered a fight, every time they refused a fight, every time they are fucked with. And it's a good thing. I think that conversation he had is a very, very good thing. It's a step forward in on the subject of fighter pay. It's a step forward for fighters to come up and speak. A lot of UFC veterans and MMA veterans, Randy Couture, Mark Hunt, they're coming out and they're speaking against it, and it's gathering a good momentum. So for people like Sean O'Malley, who does not, I shouldn't say this, but I want to like put this out there. Like, Sean O'Malley has had his own adversities in his fighting career, in his life, and Francis Ngannou has his own adversities. Like, adversity should not be universal. It is like relative to each of the fighter. But I think people like Sean O'Malley and people like Dana White have to realize that when you go through the kind of adversity Francis Ngannou has gone through to achieve his dreams, to achieve his goals, you're not gonna break this guy mentally. You're not gonna manipulate this guy mentally. You're not going to threaten him with lawsuits or like with ugly like racist messages, whoever sent that, and think that okay, we're gonna confuse him, we're gonna put so much pressure on him that he's gonna budge. He's not that kind of a guy. He has gone through so much shit. Like, you might think, okay, like an American fighter or like a Western fighter who have gone through shit too might budge and might get. He has realized that okay, he has made the money which he had never imagined, and he can still make a lot more money. And if they want to strip him or if they want to release him, it's in his own benefit. So at this point, he is one of the luckiest fighter in this regard, that he has such a leverage on this situation. Because every time fighters like Randy Couture or any other fighter who comes out and says those kind of things, they just get rid of you. They just strip you. They just like release you from the organization, and it just dies down and everybody gets scared. But I think this is a very, very, very interesting situation. And as a MMA fan, and as a Francis Ngannou fan, and just as a respectful, just like a human being, just on the humanity basis, to look towards that guy, the kind of journey he has had, the kind of life he has had, we should be respectful towards his demand. We should like put ourselves in his shoes and try to look why these and try to see why these demands he has are legitimate demands, not just for himself, but every other fighter in UFC. So that's my 2 cents, and yeah, I made a lot of English mistakes and a lot of coherent mistakes and stuff. So if you got through all of that, congratulations to you, and thank you. Have a great day and good luck, whatever you're doing. Bye bye. Take care.